Thank you. Good afternoon, members. Thank you for joining us for this webinar of the Public Service Superannuation Fund. So this is the first webinar of this year. It's the first in a series of webinars that we intend to have for the rest of the year. Just to appraise you members on a number of issues that pertains to your pension scheme. Allow us to begin at this point, and apologies because we've started quite late. I noticed that the webinar was scheduled to start at 12:30. It's now 12:58, so we need to begin so that we can recover the 28 minutes that we have lost. My name is Gumbo Njoroge from the Corporate Communications Division. I'll be hosting the webinar today, and I'm joined by my two colleagues. I'm joined by Golda Akolo, who is our Benefits Administration Manager. I'm also joined by Angela Kipto, our Corporation Secretary, who will be making some remarks on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer. So dear members, I'll take you through the introductory bits of this webinar, primarily which is a program that will guide us for the next 1 hour. And I'll also make some announcements and then invite the Corporation Secretary to make some remarks on behalf of the CEO. So members, this is our program for the day. We begin with some few announcements, just to, again, update you on what is happening in the pension scheme. Some key highlights that we would want you to take note of. And then I'll invite the CS to make the remarks, as I said, on behalf of the CEO. And then we'll have our main presentation. I think when we sent out the invite for this webinar, we informed you members that today's focus is on the beneficiary nomination forms. So our Benefits Administration Manager will make a presentation on the same, take us through the process and why we need to update those beneficiary nomination forms, how do we update them, and how often should we update them. I know we have been receiving a lot of questions from you through our online channels on pertaining these forms. So we intend to answer those questions during this session. So Golda will be making that presentation. Then we'll have a Q&A that will be handled by our team from the fund administrator. That is CPF Financial Services. We have Fadhili Milimu from CPF who has joined us. And the team from PSSF will also be taking questions, and we'll have some closing remarks. And that's it. We don't intend to take more than the scheduled time. So in about 59 minutes, we should be done with this webinar. So we seek your indulgence for starting quite late, but let's proceed. So the first announcement is on allocation of interest to members. I know that members, you are aware that we had our third annual general meeting on the 11th of December at the KICC. So during that AGM, the Board of Trustees declared interest for the financial year 2023-2024, which was 11.9%, up from 5% the previous financial year. So this is just to inform you that the interest has been allocated to all the members. So if you check your audited statement for that period, you should see the interest that was allocated to you on your member contributions as well as the employer contributions. So this interest is allocated based on the individual member accounts, that is on the investment income earned by the fund. So it is determined annually by the Board of Trustees, considering factors such as the fund's investment income, as well as the economic conditions and market returns during that period. So again, members, just log into your member portal, download the statements to access how much was allocated to you as investment income for that period. The second announcement pertains to member education, which is an ongoing exercise. So in January, we partnered with the Kenya Prison Service to conduct member education across their different facilities around the country. So this was the first phase of that engagement with the Kenya Prison Service. We intend to carry out these exercises with other employers for the rest of the year. So we shall be reaching out to you members, especially with your employer and through your HR department, so that we can partner in conducting member education, physical member education. As I said, this is ongoing member education. So we'll be reaching out to you as per the schedule that has been designed by the Benefits Administration Department. In January, we also launched the Superannuation newsletter. This is the inaugural edition of the Superannuation newsletter, which is a quarterly newsletter to inform you members as key stakeholders, as well as other stakeholders on the key updates in the pension scheme. So the first edition of the newsletter is available on our website. If you log into psss.go.ke, you can download a PDF copy of the newsletter. We are also dispatching hard copies of the newsletter through your offices. So hard copies would be sent to you beginning by end of this week or tentatively early next week. We may not provide hard copies for all the 445,000 members. So the few copies that we made should be shared, but we encourage members to also access the PDF copy that is available on the website. We also invite contributions even from the members. If you have a piece that you would want to share with us in the newsletters, you can send it to info@pssf.go.ke. The second edition of the newsletter will be available beginning 1st of April 2025. So thank you, members. That's what we have in terms of announcements. And again, just to remind you that these are our contacts in case you want to reach us. We are at CBK Pension Tower, first floor. That's our website. You can write to us on email through info@pssf.go.ke, or you can call the office through 0746 111 777. So thank you. At this point, I want to invite Angela Kipto, who is our Corporation Secretary, to make some remarks on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer. Angela, if you can hear me, proceed.
Thank you very much, Njoroge, and good morning, participants. On behalf of the CEO of Public Service Superannuation Fund, I wish to thank you most sincerely for joining today's webinar. This is but one of the very many webinars that we've been running and that we will continue to run to enlighten you and to bring you up to speed with how your funds are being managed. So today's webinar is particularly important because you get an opportunity to learn more about your records, what sort of records we hold, what additional information you require from members, and why and when you need to update these records. So this is very important for you, and we are committed to ensuring that we process member claims in good time. And by good time, I mean in less than 30 days. And one of the ways through which we ensure that we process your claims efficiently and seamlessly is by ensuring that all records are up to date. So, and that is why I said this webinar is really important, because you help us by updating your records and getting the records right and in our on our side, we'll do our best to also make sure that we process our claims in good time. So we also want to assure you that even as we hold these records, some of which is private and some of which is very sensitive, we are keen to ensure that we comply with the provisions of the law, particularly the Data Protection Act, that requires us to ensure data security. So you should not have any fears or any concerns about sharing records with us. And next, I also want to assure you that the scheme is stable, the scheme is being governed well by the Board of Trustees. And as Mr. Njoroge has briefly informed you, an interest of 11.9% was declared in the last AGM, which by any standard is really, really good, considering especially the economic circumstances that we are in currently. So rest assured that the fund is stable, the fund is being managed well, and that your benefits are in good hands. So in conclusion, I just want to say karibuni sana once again for this webinar, and learn as much as you can. We are always available to address your concerns. So if you have any questions also, please be free to ask. Our team is ready and able to respond to all your concerns. So karibuni sana. I hand this back over to Njoroge.
Thank you. Thank you, CS. At this point, I'll invite our colleague, Golda, to proceed with the main presentation. Asante. Golda, over to you.
Thank you, Njoroge. Thank you, Angela. Good afternoon, members, and welcome to the first webinar of 2025. We are glad to have you here. And my colleagues have already alluded to what this webinar is all about. And so I will delve right into it so that in the interest of time. So it was about when you looked at the information that was sent out, it was about your beneficiaries, updating your nominated beneficiaries. But how do we go about this? That is what we are going to look at it today, because we do not straight up go to the beneficiaries. We are going to look at the forms, and that leads us to where this webinar is all about. So we are going to look at the membership forms, the PSSS membership forms, which is a link to your retirement savings for financial security. What is the outline of this presentation? We are going to look at the member forms. There are 5 of them. We will take time to look at the spotlight forms, which is the PSSS1 and PSSS2, which is the member enrollment and the beneficiary nomination forms respectively, because these are the forms that enable us to update our beneficiaries. Then we are going to look at why it is important to complete these forms. It might look tedious, and as we go through them, you'll realize it takes just about 5 minutes to complete these forms. And so we will need to see, why is it important to give us this information? As Angela, the CS, has alluded to, we are requesting for your personal information, but we are also promising that there is security of the records in cognizance of the laws that have been set up. Then next, we will look at the how then do we complete these forms as members, and any questions and answers, any questions that you would have, we would tackle them at the end. So we will get right into the forms. And the first thing that we need to look at is, why are these forms important to you as a member, to us as a scheme? Why do we need these forms? And the main thing is that these forms are the core documents for PSSS memberships. They give us the details about you as a member. We are able to know who you are, who your employer is. We can see your phone number, which means then we can be able to communicate with you. And at the point that you exit service, you will be able to access your benefits. And how do you access your benefits? It is through these member forms. They keep you connected to the scheme. We need to communicate with you what is going on in the scheme. What are the new things that we are doing? We have a newsletter out. We have declared interest to the members. We want to connect with you, and the only way to do this is if we get your records. We get your phone number, we get your email. We can be able, at the touch of a button, to communicate this information to you. Now, also, these forms are important because they're part of member duties and obligations. Pension schemes have various stakeholders, and members form the core of these stakeholders. They form the core of the scheme. So as per Section 29 of the PSSS Act, you will find that it is a member duty and obligation to furnish us with the information that we require to run the scheme. What is your personal information? Who are your nominated beneficiaries? Have you left service? It is a member duty and obligation, but it is also part of the good governance guidelines that have been set up by the Retirement Benefits Authority, that you furnish the scheme with your member details so that we can be able to serve you better. Now, when we think about forms, oftentimes we want to think that the forms are long and they are tedious and they're difficult to complete. As we get to the end of this presentation, you'll realize that these forms are very easy. We have reviewed them. They're very easy to fill. And within 5 minutes, you should be able to have completed a form or 2 forms maximum. And it is also important that we get your details. We might have your details from your employer, but what we are asking for from the members is ownership of the information. And so that is why these forms are important to us as members, to you as members and to us as a scheme. What are these forms that we are going on and on about? So we have 5 forms currently, which we have reviewed and made them easy for the members to fill. The first form is the PSS1, which is the member enrollment form. This form contains the member details. It contains your name. We know you, we know your name, we know your employer, but we would like you to take ownership of this information. So it contains your details, it contains your email address, it contains your phone number, your PO box, so that in case we want to communicate with you, we are able to get to you in time and with the right information. Then after you've given us your personal information, who are you as a member? We would like to know who is this person that in case, in your absence, we are supposed to give your benefits to, because these benefits are for you as a member, but in your absence, there is someone that you would like to get your benefits. Who is this person? So in a way, this form secures your legacy. It removes all the inconsistencies of who do we want to pay, who shall we pay. You tell us as a member when you're alive, and then we will be able to honor your wishes. Then we have the additional voluntary contributions form, which is PSS3. We are aware that we make contributions as employees of 7.5%, and our employer gives us 15%. However, as a member, you need to ask yourself this question: is the amount of money you're contributing enough to sustain you in retirement? If the answer is no, that is where PSS3 comes in, the AVC form. You're allowed to boost your savings so that at the point you're retiring, you're able to retire with dignity at that point. You can replace your income. Then we have the benefits claim form. We all start working and we start with the member enrollment form, but as we go through life and we arrive at 60 years, or depending on whatever mode of exit you use, you should be able to access your benefits. So if you're alive, this PSS4, which is the benefits claim form, is the form that you will complete as a member. You will inform us that I have now left service. Your employer will confirm that you have left service, and we will be able to process your benefits. Then we have our last form, which is the death benefits claim form, which is the PSSS5. This form, as we put there, you can see it supports your family. In case something happens to you, this is the form that is used to inform us that this is what has happened and these are the people that you will pay. And the death benefits claim form is tied to the beneficiary nomination form. The people you nominate, your nominated beneficiaries, are the ones who complete the death benefits claim form. So these are the forms that we have created for our members. We have revised them. These forms are very easy to complete, and we will see them right at the end when we look at the forms individually. But when the main aim of this webinar is to ensure that we update our beneficiaries. Who are these people that we would like to get our benefits in case anything happens to us? And so we will have a spotlight on the first 2 main forms, which is the member enrollment form and the beneficiary nomination form. So the member enrollment form, it connects you to the scheme. As a member, we know who you are, we know where you work, we know your employer, we know when you started working, and we know your date of birth, which means you can be able to determine when you're going to exit the scheme by normal retirement. So what is the purpose of this form? It is important to capture your personal and employment details, your full names as they appear on your ID, because this is something that will be used at the end to process your benefits. We don't want to have similar names and we don't know who this person is. So of course, it also contains your personal number. This is your employment number. Every employee has a personal number, and we would like to capture this in this member enrollment form. Then who is your current employer? Today, you could be employed by the National Treasury. Tomorrow you'll move to the Ministry of Health. We can track you as a scheme, but we would like you to tell us for now, this particular moment, who is your current employer. Then as we go through life and we move and we continue with our employment, you can be able to see where you're moving and address that accordingly. What are your contacts? We would like to see your phone number. We have information that we'd like to share with you. For example, just the issue of updating beneficiaries. We would like to send this online. How do we do this? We can only do this if we have your phone number. We want to leverage on technology to make running this scheme and reaching our members and connecting with our members easy. We would like to get your email address. Yes, we would like to send a message on your phone, but it is also nice to send another message on that email address. We want to send your statement. It is easier to get your statement on email, because even if we send it on SMS, we would have to give you a link. So we want to also send it on your email address. So share with us your email address. In case we want to write to you a letter, then it is important that you give us your postal address. But leveraging on technology, the most important ones is your contact, your phone number, and your email address. Why is this form key? I have spoken about this, and it is because it links the scheme to the member. We would like to communicate with you. We would like you to know that the scheme is there and the scheme is being governed well. How do we do this? We need your contacts. We need to be able to speak to you directly. Now, when we look at the form, this is something that I'm going to speak about. All the forms as we go through, you'll realize that we are saying that these forms are simple and they are clear. Within 5 minutes, anyone should be able to have completed this form. So this form tells us about you as a member. We are able to know who you are just from looking at these member forms. And once you give us these details, we will be able to capture them in the pension administration system, which then enables us to communicate with you easily. Then we have a spotlight on the reason why we are here today, updating our beneficiaries. Please note, you cannot update your beneficiary if we do not know who you are. So that is why the enrollment form comes first, and then the beneficiary nomination form follows after. So you're thinking about your legacy. We are asking you, in case anything happens to you, who do we pay? Who would you like to get these benefits? Is it your wife? Is it your spouse? Is it your children? Who would you like to get these benefits? So the purpose of this beneficiary nomination form, the purpose why we are here today, is that we need you to tell us who this person is. You nominate the person who gets your benefits. If it is more than one person, you'll have to give the percentages that you'd like us to apportion to each beneficiary that you nominate. You have a wife, you have 2 children, you want all of them to be nominated. That means you divide 100 by 3. And that is, or however you want. You could say your wife would get 50% and your children would get the remaining. That is up to you as a member to tell us. But the importance of this form is it eliminates any disputes in case you're not around. It is very clear that these are the people you wanted to be paid your benefits, and therefore there is no confusion as to who gets your benefits. Because you have signed out this form, we have received the information and we have updated it in our records. Now, this form is, it's not a form that is completed once. You can keep on updating your beneficiaries. Today, you could be a young gentleman or a young lady and you do not have a family, a spouse, but maybe 3 months down the line, you get married. Then you're allowed to update this form. So this is not a static form. This is a form that keeps on changing depending on what you want as a member and what you want us to do in case you're not there. Again, this form is quick to complete. We will look at them in a short while, and you'll see that in less than 5 minutes, you should be able to complete these forms. And in case you have the beneficiaries who are minors, then you're allowed to nominate a guardian. Who is this person who is taking care of the children in your absence, taking care of your minors in your absence? So you can have the beneficiaries, but you can also have a guardian that you're nominating just in case they are minors. So we got the importance of completing these forms. This is where I started, and this is where, again, I would like to almost end. We want your accurate details. Why now? The scheme has been in existence for about 4 years, and now it is time for us to speak to the members and say, We have your personal details, but we would like you to take ownership of these details. So we want the accurate details from you. We do not have phone numbers for those of you who've not completed these forms. And this will allow us to speak to you. It will allow corporate communications through Njoroge to speak to the members and say that these are the things that are coming up. We have an AGM on this date. We have a webinar on this date. We are coming to Mombasa on this date. You're able to get this information from us at the click of a button. Then we have the beneficiary form, which is the PSS2. And this is about removing any confusion at the point that we need to pay the people you have left behind. We do not want people to fight over this money. We want to honor your wishes. Who did you want us to pay? That is what we are going to do. And the only way for us to get this information is by you completing the PSS2. Then we have PSS3, which is the additional voluntary contribution form. You have looked at your contributions, you have looked at the life you're living right now, and you're looking at the future. Will you be able to maintain the same lifestyle at the point that you retire when there is no salary? You say yes, and you add to your contributions through the PSSS3. You're contributing 5,000 now, but you say, okay, I have some extra money here. I can add another 1,000 bob to my 7.5. So you add 1,000 bob as a member. The employer does not match that contribution. Then we have the claim forms. We have the death benefit claim form and the benefit claim form. This speeds up your claims. We have made these forms very easy, such that it's only a 1-pager or 2-pager form, and you're able to complete it, put the right attachments for the PSSS4, and your benefits will be provided. You remit the form to us through your employer. And in case of death, then the PSSS5 comes in, and this is filled by the nominated beneficiary as per PSSS2. So you can see how these forms are all connected. From the first form, the PSSS1, we are able to see how is this scheme, what is the age of this scheme? When are you retiring? When is this particular member retiring so that we can plan for them? PSS2 works together with number 5 so that we're able to know who is this person that we are paying in case of death. Then PSS3 is about your security. Are you able to maintain your lifestyle in retirement as it were when you are working? Then we have number 4, which actually helps us to pay you your benefits for reasons other than death. It is important that we have these forms because if, for example, we don't have a nomination form, a beneficiary nomination form, then the trustees are going to take it upon themselves to determine who to pay. It might not be the person that you wanted to get your benefits, but it is the person that the law will have allowed the trustees to determine to make the payment to. So it's important that you don't miss your form. It is important that you look at these forms and you realize that these forms are important to you as a member as they are important to us as a scheme. So what do we do now that we know the forms? We know that there are 5 types of forms, and we know that now we are still in employment. We need to complete some forms so that we can be able to ensure that the scheme is run properly, there is good governance in the scheme, and they have all your information. So there are 3 steps very short steps that we are going to look at. The forms are found at the website that is there, www.psss.go.ke, or our offices at Central Bank, Pension Towers, or your employer. These forms were disseminated to the employers. All employers have copies of these forms, and the forms are also online. So you do not need to go to the head office or to the HR office. You can simply go onto the website and download these forms, and I will show you how to do that. You complete these forms, the ones that we are looking at currently, because we are talking about nominating your beneficiaries, is the PSSS1 and PSSS2. That is the member enrollment form, which tells us who you are. And the PSSS2, which tells us now that we know your Golda, what is this, who is this person that you'd like to pay in case Golda is not in the picture. So these are the forms that we'd like you to prioritize: the enrollment form and the nominated beneficiary forms. And these forms, it is important to submit them through your employer. If you look at the forms, you'll find that there is a place that the employer confirms that you're a member of the scheme and that you actually work for that particular employer, and they're the ones who will forward these forms to us. Again, our tagline for today is missing forms means missed connections or delayed benefits. If you're not aware of these forms, then you might not know that at the point you're exiting service, you need to complete these forms. So I will go straight to where these forms, to the website, to show you where to access these forms from. You'll allow me to stop sharing this so that I can share the other screen. So as I said, these forms are found on our website, www.psss.go.ke. I will move that there so that we can see. That is the website. And when you go to the website, you go to this part called members. And you will be able to see we have membership, the portal, the membership portal, the benefits, and the member forms. So when you click on member forms, it will take us to where the forms are, and I hope you can see that. And we have the 5 forms here. The form we are talking about, the 2 forms that we are speaking about today is the enrollment form and the beneficiary nomination form. However, we will look at all the forms so that we have at least had some information about these forms. So we will open the member enrollment form. You will indulge me on this. Allow me one moment. Sorry about that. Okay, so we can see the forms now. I would not want to move away from this screen. That's why I had to keep on moving. So you click on the member forms and it should be able to bring the all the member forms that we have. We will start with the first form, which is the member enrollment form. And this is how this form looks like. This form is exactly 2 pages long. And it tells us about you as a member. It is the PSSS one. So we are looking at the particulars of the contributor or member. As alluded to earlier on, you can see we have the name of the employer, who is your employer, so that you can be able to place you correctly. Then what are your full names as per your identification, whether it's the passport or an ID? What is your personal or employment number? When were you employed? We would like you to take ownership of this information. What is your date of birth? And of course, we'd like to see your ID or passport number. We would like to get your KRA PIN. It is important. Then what is your mobile number? This is to enable us to communicate any information to you together with the email address and your postal address in case we would like to write a letter to you. So you can see that this form, if you are even completing it right now, you're actually done. Because then after that, we'd like you to take further ownership by signing out this form, putting your name, declaring that the information you have given, you work for the National Treasury, your name is Golda Akolo, and you were born in 2011, and your ID number is this. You're taking ownership of that information, and you do this by signing out. Now, we've spoken about how these forms come to us, and that is where you can see there is the part where the employer confirms your details. So the employer will, through the HR office, the director human resource, they will sign out this form and forward the same to us. What is required as an attachment for this form is your national ID or passport. This is required so that we can just confirm that the information you have written is the same information that we have and no mistakes have been made. And as you can see, this form is a 1-pager because Section E is for official use by the scheme. The forms have been simplified. This is a 1-minute form which gives us the information, your information as our member. We will go to the next form. Now we know who you are. We want to take it up from there. Where do we go? We want to see, in case anything happens to you, who would you like us to pay? Because these are two separate forms, we would still ask you who you are. But of course, we are aware, but we would like to see from this form that you're still taking ownership of yourself and your information. And then we will go to part B, where we have the nominated beneficiary details. You're requesting the trustees that in case anything happens to you, these are the people that you have nominated to be paid. In case you have children who are less than 18 years of age, you consider them as minors, and therefore you could opt to choose a guardian, to select someone to take care of them, and you will see where we place the guardian. So you'll put your spouse, for example, if that's what you'd like to happen, you'd put your spouse, put their details. What is the relationship? Is it a wife or a husband? We require the national ID number so that we can be able to confirm that this person is who you said it was, and their mobile phone number in case we want to get in touch with them at the point that you're not there. And what is the rate? This rate should add up to 100%. So if you have one person and you'd like them to get all these funds, therefore it will be 100. If you have two people that you're nominating and you'd like them to get the equal amounts, then it will be 50% each. But this information has to add up to 100%. This is your wishes. In line with the security of records, information is held in trust by the trustees of the scheme. It is us who are aware of it, you're aware of it, and in case anything happens, your employer will speak to us and we will be able to confirm who it is that you'd like us to pay. Now, you might have children who are below 18 years old. They are your beneficiaries, you've nominated them, but you might want to say that now that my beneficiaries are minors, I am going to nominate someone who takes care of them. So there are two options to this form. You can nominate a guardian and you put them under part B, where my cursor is. You put them under the guardianship. Or you can leave the minors as they were, and the trustees will hold the funds in trust for them until they're of majority age. So there are two options. You have nominated beneficiaries who are minors. You can have the guardian who comes in and takes care of them and would pay the guardian some money to take care of these children. Or you can allow the trustees to hold the funds in trust for the children. And in case the children are orphans, then we can be able to take care of their maintenance or educational expenses based on the information that we will have from the schools that they attend. So this is how the nomination beneficiary form looks like. And what we'd like to come with this is a copy of the national ID or passport. Some of this information about the relationship, this part B, we can get it at the point that we need it. We will see that these are the people you've nominated. You've said this is your spouse. What makes her your spouse? Or what makes him your spouse? These are your children. What are the documents that we need to confirm that these are actually your children? We will get them at the point that we require them. And you can see that this form also still requires for you to declare that this information is correct, that you're the one who has filled this information, and therefore you sign it out and you give the trustees the right to pay the person that you have nominated, unless otherwise. And of course, then the form comes to us and we are able to confirm everything that you've given us and update your member details. So those are the two forms that we are looking at today critically. But because we have spoken about the 5 forms, I will take time to quickly go through the other 3 forms because they are also as important as these forms. We have the additional voluntary contribution form, which we have said is the form that allows us to boost our contributions. Can we add our contributions? Yes, we can, because we have extra funds. So this is the additional voluntary contribution. It is addressed to your employer because this is the person who holds your employment records and runs your payroll, and you're giving them authority to make an extra deduction on your payroll, on your payslip. So we want the member details. Who are you? What's your personal number? When did you join the scheme? And when would you like to start the additional voluntary contributions? Then what are these contributions? It's a new contribution. You didn't have it before. So you say, I wish to commence contributing 5,000 shillings towards AVC with effect from today. Or if it's a variation of contributions, say you are doing 1,000 shillings and you've seen that you can increase that to the 5,000 shillings, you simply complete this second part 2 of the contributions. Then of course we have the part 3, which I'm not going to touch on because the importance of this form is to boost our retirement benefits, not to reduce the same. Again, because we are dealing with money, it is important that you declare that it is you who has completed this form and requested payroll to deduct money from your payslip. So you sign and you date it. And of course, it goes to HR so that they can confirm, your HR department, they can confirm that they have received this form and worked on it. And a copy of the same will be sent to us so that we can be able to track. We will know that a member called Janet requested for additional voluntary contributions starting March 2025. Has that been effected? Then we are able to confirm and follow up with payroll just in case that has not been done. Even as we proceed, you can see that these forms are easy. We promised that they were going to be simplified, they were going to be easy forms to complete. And I hope we have lived up to that promise. So we go to the other form, important to know because it is a form that we've created, which is the benefits claim form. This form is exactly 3 pages long, but it could be 2 pages depending on how you look at it. You have left service. You need to tell us that you've left service so that we can be able to process your benefits. So this is the PSSS form, which is the benefits claim form. You again need to tell us who you are because we need to know who is this person who's leaving service, who was the employer, what are your bank details, because at this point we would like to make a payment to you. So you make sure you give us your full bank details, but in addition to writing it out, we would also like to see a copy of your bank card just in case there are any mistakes that you made when you are writing these out. What is your KRA PIN? What is your ID number? These ones will help us to track you and see who is this member together with the personal or employment number. Would like your mobile phone number, just in case there is a query that we want to speak about on this benefits claim form. It is important that we get this. Please note that the moment you have given us your ID, we can be able to track this. But in line with ownership, that it is me who requested for these benefits to be paid, this is the form that we'd like you to complete and give us your details. Your employer has to confirm that you're actually leaving service because this is the person in whose service you're in. This is the person for why you're in this scheme. Because of them, you're in this scheme because you work for the government. So they have to confirm that you actually, you are there and you have actually left service. What are the documents that you require? The letter of confirmation that you're leaving service, a copy of your ID, a clear copy of the front page of your ATM card so that we can confirm your bank details, your KRA PIN certificate, and for any other reasons, we would like, for immigration, we would like to know that you have left the country permanently. And in case you opted in as a member, we would like to see your option election form. Of course, how then do we pay? We would like you to choose how we will pay you the lump sum, but the remaining money, how would you like us to pay you that money? The options are there, and you will interrogate these forms further. Right now, we are just looking at them from a helicopter view, but you will interrogate the forms further. And I hope that you'll realize and you will notice that these forms are very easy to complete. Then we would like you to give us, in case you're transferring to another scheme, you have said, yes, I've left service, or maybe you've not left service, you have changed employers, you'd like to transfer to the scheme that that employer holds, you'll need to give us these details. And you can see the reason why this form goes to 3 pages is because you need to declare and take control of the information that you have given us. So you can see this is a 3-pager form. We have given you the attachments. It becomes very easy for you to claim your benefits. We will look at the final form, which is the death benefits claim form. Of course, it's also simplified. It could be require more information, but it is a simplified version of the current forms that we have. So we look at the person, this is your beneficiary who's completing this form. They need to tell us who the member was. They need to have your personal employment number and who your employer is, when you are born, and the date of death. These are things that the nominated beneficiary is expected to have. And at the point that they are claiming, we are looking at the particulars of the claimant. Who are you? Are you part of the PSSS2 that the member completed? You put your details here and we'll be able to take it up. Then, of course, we would like to know, because we are dealing with money, we are not dealing with the principal member, we are dealing with a third party. We would like to interrogate further and see, is this really the case? That is why we are looking at the particulars of the claimant's particulars. Again, this part 3 is what are the options that you'd like us to pay? How would you like us to pay your funds? This is where part 3 comes in. You'll interrogate the form further. We would like to get your phone number in case your benefits are less than 500,000. And as usual, in true style, we are going to take ownership by signing out this form at the part where the claimant is completing the form. You give us this information and we confirm that it is actually you. And the last page is what are the documents that you require. So as you're completing these forms, we have put a list of documentation which you can tick as you go. I have gone through these forms very quickly. However, I will say this, it was important for us to go through these forms and know them. We hope that you will interrogate the forms and understand them and not wait for the last minute to be able to ask, where are the forms? These forms are available on our website. These forms are available at your HR offices. These forms are available at our offices. You're welcome to visit. But the most important forms that we are looking at today is the member enrollment form and the beneficiary enrollment form, the beneficiary nomination form. And we hope that after this meeting, we will see quite a number of forms coming in because we want to take ownership of our records. We would like as members that you give us your information so that we can be able to serve you better. We can be able to reach you at any particular moment that we need to reach you. I would like to stop there and we will handle any questions. Back to you, Njoroge. Thank you, members, for listening to me.
Thank you. Thank you, Golda, for that detailed and very clear presentation on the different forms that are available. I'll allow you to take a breath so that we respond to the questions that have been raised by members. There's a lot of engagement on the chat, some of which have already been addressed by Milimu, Fadhili, and myself. So in the next 17 minutes, we can take some questions. I'll request members who would want to ask their questions on the floor to raise their hand so that we can give you the mic to ask the questions. Some of the questions raised on the chat, you've already addressed, Golda. For instance, Collins, there's a gentleman called Collins Cheminon who was asking about nomination of beneficiaries. That is in the case of minors. That question has been addressed by Golda. Douglas Oguta, we see your request. Douglas is requesting that if we could send him the slides after this session. We'll avail the slides on email, Mr. Douglas, after the session. Elijah Nyangaresi is asking a question that I think captures the essence of this webinar today, is what will happen if I haven't nominated any beneficiary and I'm a member? I believe, Elijah, that has been answered, but I'll invite Golda at some point to also back up what has already been presented so that you get clarity on what will happen if you don't nominate the beneficiaries. More questions. Robert Munyiri is asking, how do we access the portal and how do we get the login details? Let me invite Fadhili, if you're still online, maybe in 2 minutes, you can handle that one. How do the members access the portal and how do they get the login details? Fadhili?
Thank you, Bumbo. Can I be heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I'll just quickly, briefly take you through how you can be able to access the portal. And I think it's also embedded in the website for the PSSF. Once you scroll within that particular dashboard, you'll be able to see a link that can guide you on how you can be able to access the portal. But you have 2 ways on how you can be able to access the portal. One is through the USSD. You can press *378#, whereby you have to register as a first user and set up your details and put up a password. And once you do that, you'll actually log in again on the *378#, whereby you can now be able to check your statement in terms of viewing. And if you want to download a statement, you'll have to provide an email address by actually selecting number 3. Then you put your email address, then the statement will be sent to your email address in that particular PDF format that we want to look at it. Then the second one is we have the portal, whereby you can easily click a link. But again, also we've provided a simpler way whereby you can actually scan the QR code. I think within the website, there's that particular provision that you can actually be able to scan that particular QR code, and you'll have to go and register. So if you're using an Android phone or an iOS phone, that is the iPhone or the Android phone in that particular aspect, when you click that link, it will give you a padlock on the top there. At the middle of the phone, you'll see a padlock, whereby you can click that padlock. You'll have two options. One is where you can log in, and the second one is where you can register. Given that you're a first user, in that particular instance, you will have to register your details. And once you register your details, you'll be able to be logged in by actually putting a password. Then on the top right, you'll see a 3-line dashboard that you can click, which will pop up and give you some options. Look for the option written statement. Once you click that statement option, you can be able to actually download and see two forms of statements. I think this will address Mohammed's question that he was asking, how can I be able to access my annual statement? So the first statement that you're able to see is your monthly contributions by clicking the contribution statement. And the second option is by clicking the annual statement that has your opening balance, contribution for that particular financial year, and the income declared, for this case, the 11.9%, which was declared for the period ended June 2024, and actually
Sorry,
the closing balance. Yes.
Fadhili?
Yes.
Are you able to share your screen so that members can follow what you are looking at on the portal?
Yeah,
It's easier
I can
to
share.
demonstrate if you're sharing your screen. Please share so that members can follow.
Is it visible now?
Yes, it is. Thanks.
So this is just a flyer that we are able to come up with that will help each and every member be able to log in. As I mentioned earlier, we have the first option on the far right using the USSD on how to go about it. Then you have the web portal link, the one I was talking about. You'll have to actually click that particular link. It's also embedded within the main PSSF website. You can actually get that particular link. But if you find a challenge, for those ones who are tech savvy, we have a QR code down there on the bottom right, whereby you can actually be able to scan that particular QR code, and it'll quickly direct you to that particular link on top there. And after actually going to that particular link, as I've mentioned before, if you're using an Android or an iOS phone, you have to click a padlock that is locked at the middle top there. Once you click that padlock, it will give you an option to actually be able to either log in as a normal user or register as a first-time user. If you've accessed this actually portal for the first time, you need to register and provide your information so that it can be able to search and find you within our systems to be able to now prompt you to log into the dashboard. So once you log into the dashboard, you can be able to access the statements, as I've mentioned, through clicking the tab on the top left, which provides an option for actually accessing and downloading two kinds of statements. One is the contribution member statement. This one will only show you contributions that have been received so far from the period the scheme was established until now, and now actually be able to see if your contributions are up to date. But again, also you can be able to get the annual member benefit statement, which will give you a comprehensive analysis of your opening balance, contribution for that particular financial audited year, and actually the interest component. For this case, if you're looking at 2024, for the period ended June 2024, you'll be able to see the return of the 11.9% and actually the final member closing balance. The USSD is like more of an ATM where you just have the visibility of seeing your member balances. But if you want to get a statement emailed to you, you have to click option number 1, whereby it says email statement. 2 is member balances, whereby you can view your balances for the annual member benefit statement for the period ended June 2023 and the period ended June 2024 in that particular aspect. We have this flyer. I think Gumbo can also share this as he's sharing the presentation later. But again, also, in case of any challenges, you can always visit the website for PSSF just to get this particular information there. I hope, Gumbo, have been able to simplify and address this particular area of the portal.
Yes, you have. Thank you. Thank you, Fadhili. We're about 9 minutes. As I mentioned earlier, we intend to conclude this session by 2 p.m. So we have about 8 minutes. There is a question that had been raised by Felix Muli. He asks, are members of the police service in the scheme? Yes, Felix, members of the police service are members of this scheme. This scheme draws its membership from the disciplined service. That includes the National Police Service, the Kenya Prison Service, the National Youth Service, as well as teachers employed by the Teacher Service Commission, as well as our colleagues employed in the mainstream civil service. So we have about 450,000 members drawn from those clusters. So yes, police are members of this scheme. Mr. Mburu, we take note of your request. We'll share the slides after the end of this session. Alex Ongeri says, what about if the employer doesn't submit the funds? In my statement, I saw some months not submitted. What happens? Fadhili, would you want to address that question by Alex Ongeri? He's asking about some months that have not been captured in his statement.
Thank you, Gumbo. I think that's a case by case. We can be able to pick up the contacts. Maybe he can share the contacts on the chat, and we can pick up and be able to look at the reason why the contribution for the employer is not updated, and we'll be able to reach out to that particular member.
Thank you. Thank you, Fadhili. Alex, please share your contacts on the chat so that we can reach out to you immediately after the session. I'd requested us to unmute. In case you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand and ask. Maybe we can give that chance to 1 or 2 members in the next 7 minutes. If you'd want to ask a question, please raise your hand so that we can give you the mic to ask your question. But there are quite a number. If you follow the chart, there are quite a number that have been asked and that have been addressed by Fadhili. Someone was asking, Joyce was asking, does this forum involve retirees or is it squarely for active members in the job sector? More questions on the portal. Members asking whether they can get their statements on email, and those questions have been addressed. Ezra, please unmute your mic and ask the question.
My question is, what's the possibility of reaching out to many members who can't join the webinar and all that? How can they get this enlightening information?
Thank you, Ezra. Good question. Yes, indeed, it is true that most members have not logged into this session. So we are recording the webinar, and we'll be uploading this on our website as well as our YouTube channel. But again, that is not enough because 450,000 members, and majority of them are not here. So we reach out to these members through other forms of engagement. So the virtual session is to complement what we do through face-to-face engagement. So we'll be reaching out, and we have been reaching out to members through their employers for the face-to-face engagement, so that we're able to have a personalized discussion on specific areas that members will want addressed. There are some employer clusters that we have not reached so far, but we are working closely with the employers, particularly the teachers, with the Teacher Service Commission, so that we can reach out to the teachers, either through their schools or when they are on school holiday in April. Thank you, Ezra. So members, if we don't have further questions, I want to thank you for attending this session. As I said, we have been recording this session, and we'll avail the recordings on YouTube. The last one, Mohammed, the last one.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
question is only one. I am trying to log in on the website, but when I register or I try to use the initial code that I used to register, it's saying that the login codes are not valid.
Are you referring to the portal? You're trying to log into the portal?
Yes, yes.
Okay, please send your details on the chat, or you can write us an email. Just write an email to info@pssf.go.ke. We'll address it immediately after the session.
Thank you very much.
I'd say that was the last one, but I see there is Adan Mahat. So this is the last. Adan,
thank you.
Ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Njoroge. I was a bit in and out. That's why I'm not getting some of the content. Kindly, I'm requesting because I joined the Zoom late. How do I fill what we call beneficiary nomination form? Because I entered the portal and I tried to fill the form and it's not catching up. Do we fill it online because I did it online and it is not going through? Or there's a hard copy form that we fill on and send it through maybe the email. That's my question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Adam. There's a form. There's a hard copy form that you can download on the website. Just log into psss.go.ke. Go to tab members, then you'll see a section member forms. So there are 5 forms on that dashboard. So download the specific form that you want. Download it, fill it, submit it through your employer. Or you can even deliver it to our office at CBK Pension Tower. You can send it on email to info@pssf.go.ke. So thank you, Adan. Thank you, members. It is exactly 1:59 p.m. Allow us to conclude the session there. For now, as I had mentioned, we don't intend to take more than the allocated time so that we allow you to resume your other duties. Asante sana for attending the webinar, and we look forward to engaging with you in subsequent webinars. We'll announce the date for the next webinar in March. Asanteni sana. May God bless you and have a wonderful afternoon.